I appreciate you joining me because I want to give Washington fans a sense of Jahan Dotson, what this team is getting in him. And you know him very well, having coached him the last 2 years. So, what is Washington getting in Jahan Dotson?
You know what? You're going to get somebody who's consistent, low maintenance, high production. Um, you're getting a guy who is highly competitive. I mean, he is highly competitive, and you won't even know it. And you're getting a sure-handed dude that has the ability to be very explosive. So um, he has a unique personality that I think he has this calm demeanor that yet he has done such a tremendous job in the last couple of years of growing into this growing into himself and his personality where I think just the fans are just gonna love him. I know kids are gonna look up to him and I'm excited to see what he does.
You bring up the competitiveness. Where do you see that? Because like it's almost sounds like a sneaky competitiveness, but where did you see that the most?
When I coached him hard, when I got in his face, when I challenged the heck out of him, and he took it, and he took it, and he responded. That's where I saw it. You know, it is. He's not going to be this dude that's talking a bunch of trash. He's not going to be this guy that's going to flaunt what he does. But in terms of I remember there's one game in the middle of the season where he either dropped the pass or could have done something a little bit better. He thought about it for a moment, then he came back like a play or two later, in not in a boastful way, but in a way that was somebody who has closed the door on something that bad happened and said, "Coach, come to me again. Give me the ball again." And like I say, it wasn't like I said, it wasn't in a way that was like, "Hey, you know, look at me, come and ball." It wasn't that. It was I thought about it. I closed the door. I see what I need to fix, and let me have another crack at it.
And you say you get in this space a little bit. I mean, when you first got there a couple years ago, you don't know these guys. So do you remember the
Yeah,
first time you got in his face and how he responded and what it was
yeah,
about?
you know, I'm a real big route guy. You know, we're at Penn State. We're dealing with some of the best athletes in the country. So it's how can you be a difference maker? How can you use your speed? How can you use your body control? How can you look at the defense and figure out exactly what they're trying to do so that you can run your route accordingly? And so I had to do something with a misread on a route and something that he had probably already ran 4 or 5 times and done it perfectly. And then he got to a time where it wasn't he didn't do it the way that he should have done, and he recognized it. And it was also an opportunity for me to set an example for the room too. That yes, Jahan Dotson can get coached hard and respond accordingly and respond appropriately.
And then about the demeanor. How important was that to the rest of that room? Because you came in there, they lost KJ Hamler. It's a new group except for Jahan. How important was that demeanor, and what was he like?
Well, in all reality, in 2020, nobody really knew who Jahan was. You know, like you said, KJ Hamler left, and so it was like, who's going to be in Penn State room? You got this one guy named Jahan who has a chance to be somebody, but is he? So that goes again to just his competitiveness. He was like, okay, yes, KJ left. Um, um, he was committed and determined to prove himself. And so it was important. It was probably equally important this 2021 season because after 2020, he had kind of proven himself to be one of the top players in the country. And so it was probably more important this year. And I'm telling you, he just took it. He said, "Yes, coach. I see what you're talking about. I'm going to fix it." It wasn't combative. It wasn't dismissive. He saw it. He recognized it. And you know what? Majority of times he had already seen it before we came into a meeting room. So that tells me that he's looking at the film before we even watched it as a group, and he's invested.
You've been around this game a long time, and you know how hard it is if you're a receiver who is targeted by defenses. He's a guy that everybody's going to target the last couple of years. So what was it like for him and how was he able to still produce despite receiving that kind of attention?
Consistency, quite frankly. It was consistently film study. Rutgers, it was either Rutgers or Illinois. They try to do a good job of trying to, in some regards, bracket him by doing a jump jam at the line of scrimmage and then letting him go, and then somebody else would cover him. He recognized that. We recognized that. He made adjustments accordingly. So he's smart. He's really bumped up his IQ, his football IQ. Excuse me. And so, he just stayed the course. He didn't try to force anything. I didn't have to worry about him. There's one game in 2020 where he didn't play very well. And he said beforehand, he goes, I just didn't feel it. Well, that was one out of 20, 21 games that I coached him that happened. So my point in this is he's ready to play each week. I don't have to try to have some rah-rah speech. I don't have to try to find something that's gonna, motivate him more. He's motivated. He comes ready to play. He's mentally in the right spot. He's gonna make sure that he keeps his body in the right spot. And another thing that is very impressive about him is that he practiced hard now. If you looked at his catapult numbers and looked at the amount of practice that he had, and he did not say, hey, coach, I need a break. He worked. He's a worker. So I credit his parents for that. He gets that from his dad. He obviously gets that from his mom, how much she's fighting and stuff. So I just couldn't be happier for him, and I can't say enough good things about him.
And you bring up his parents and his mom, who has had to deal and still deals with the breast cancer. How hard is it for someone in his spot you're focusing, you want to be there for your mom, you be there for your parents, but also you've got to do your job over here. What was that? Did you see him struggle with that at times, or what was that? How did you see that play out for him?
You would have never known. You literally would have never known. The emotional control, the mental toughness that he has to be able to go through some of the things that he was going through, you literally would have never known. You ask him about it, and of course he thought about it, but he has a great family support system. His dad's a rock, mom's a rock, and he just handled it. I don't think there's any appropriate way. If he would have had a breakdown, you know what? That's understandable. So I don't know if there's some appropriate way to handle it, but I know this you would have never known, and he's motivated by it, and he just handled like a professional.
And then you brought up in 2020, the play that a lot of people talk about is that one-handed catch against Ohio State. Just, I think, going up alongside one, grab it, snatch. I don't have to remind you what it was.
Yeah.
Just his hands. It's not like the only play he's done like that. He has really good reputation for having that wide catch radius. But what makes him be able to catch some of those kind of passes and have that wide catch radius?
It's interesting when that 2020 season we first started going. He had some drops early on, and whether it be fall camp, whether it be whatever. And then you just gradually just continue to see just improvement. Oh, a wow factor. Oh, geez, he caught that. That just goes to his competitiveness. If you look at the start of that route, he got jammed up pretty good. But he kept fighting. And I think it was back-to-back catches that he had that were pretty gosh dang impressive. And his body control is unbelievable. I mean, the ball that he caught against Michigan State, where it was a go ball right at the end on the sideline, to then be able to, in the snow, to be able to know where he was at on the field, to be able to jump up with 1 foot. A lot of people, when you look at receivers, they jump up with 2 feet to go get the ball. He jumped up with 1 foot, came down, was able to maneuver his body in to get the touchdown. That just shows you his catch radius is quite large for somebody his size. And then the body control, to be able to not just catch and go out of bounds, to be able to catch make that into a touchdown.
And I was going to ask you about that play too, because that was an impressive play. So how did he work on those? Because I think I remember reading something from you talk about shifty eyes from receivers, but how did he work on getting better at those contested catches? Because it does take some concentration there.
Yeah, we drill it. You know, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but that's something that, you know, you have to drill. You have to drill to be so locked in, whether you're on the sideline and you're worried about, are you going to step out of bounds? You got to stay locked in. Whether you're going across the middle and you see that safety coming down, or that Mike backer that gets a little bit of depth, you have to be so locked in on the ball that it does not matter. It's no different than, you know, a golfer whose shot is lined by a crowd. You have to be so locked in to what you have to accomplish, and we drill it. And then he's just special. I mean, he's special.
And then one of the things that Ron Rivera brought up, he said he felt like he had some Deshaun Jackson in him, I think, with the ability to track the ball. Deshaun was elite at that, but felt like Jahan had some of that, but also some Steve Smith in him. And you were in the league for a couple of years in 05 and 06, one, I think, Carolina, and then also the Rams. You were around some really good receivers. What did you learn from those experiences, and what do you think about what Ron Rivera said?
Yeah, I mean, I could see the Steve Smith. You know, I had an opportunity. That was my rookie year when Steve was there. And then I went to the St. Louis Rams at the time, and with Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. He has the explosiveness ability to be like a Steve Smith. Obviously, the size is, you know, similar. And then the silky smooth route running of Torrey Holt. Yeah, I mean, he has a combination of those two. Like you can't really tell. Oh, he just broke it off. Oh shoot, he just got to 22 miles an hour. Oh, I did not know that. You know, so it's deceptive, but he has an explosive element to him that is just it's just smooth.
And then lastly, I know you got other stuff going on here. Sounds like a play to catch in a few minutes. But he kind of was looking at some of the NFL stuff after 2020, and he came back. Where did he improve himself the most in that 1 year that turned him into a first-round pick?
Yeah, I think that you saw. I think his situational awareness was much better. You'll see a variety of times where he caught the ball, where some receivers, especially young receivers, they catch it, they turn and go upfield, and they see a couple defenders, and then they start working backwards. Jahan saw a couple defenders, and we have a drill that we split two, make one miss. So if there's one coming at him, he was trying to make him miss. If there's two, he was working forward. And so you see a couple times where he caught the ball at 11 yards, went north, splitting two defenders, showing some physicalness to him, where he ended up having a 15, 16, 17-yard gain off of something like that. And then I think it's consistent play. It's just consistent, explosive, third down route running. I think Coach Yursich and the offense did a pretty good job of displaying his ability to read coverages, his ability in the same exact play to have multiple different options. And he demonstrated that he knew what option to give based on what the defense was giving him. So, just consistent production that leads to being a great player.
Taylor, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and good luck this season.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, it's John Keim. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and I'll continue to bring you guests who provide excellent insight into the Washington Commanders. And while you're here, check out the other terrific content on the Ampire Media Network, including Inside the Cap with Joel Corey and All's Caps with Steve Wino and former Washington Capital Carl Alsner. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Thank you.